Talk about a kind of interesting turn of events when it comes to the little sister. I mean, I knew it would be something different than what they were imagining, this kind of like cute moe blob anime girl, but I wasn't quite expecting her to be that much taller and also maybe that much more mature. But given my own like friend back when I was in public school there around 7th or 8th grade, she kind of got that growth spurt, which normally you would get in your 10th or 11th grade all over. And yeah, like, you know, bullying and kind of like teasing and shit can get really awkward for someone who normally wouldn't experience that type of maturity that young. So the nervousness, the shyness, I can actually understand, given that when these two go out together, you know who's going to be considered the younger sister and who's going to be considered the older sister. And also how, like, going to school and looking around your class, how much younger everyone else is going to look in comparison to you. That's an interesting concept that you don't see explored all too often, especially in anime. So I'm here for it, especially given misunderstandings. There's going to be embarrassment, and it's going to be comedy gold, probably all things considered. But I mean, my dress-up darling, we're now in the second half of this season here, and just seeing how the kind of the love, or the wuv, as Marine would kind of explain it, I love how much they're focusing in on it, because this easily could be a show where, you know, you get those key moments, oh, they go on a sort of date, or Gojo helps her in a certain way, and that's when the romantic butterflies kind of blossom. But anyone who's ever been in love, especially in that kind of teenage awkwardness phase, those feelings don't just kind of like, they spark and then they die down. If you're really, really into someone, that's how you're gonna be. And I love how Marine is kind of like the prime example of someone who can't keep their cool and is also oblivious to so many things. When Gojo comes over to her home to get the DVD set of this show, which I think they said was like over 120 episodes, my girl over here is literally trying to recommend Hunter x Hunter just as a casual watch. It's like, no, that's actually a big time sink. She's not, you know, oblivious to the fact that she's in her nightie without a bra on. She's embarrassed because she doesn't have her color contacts in. And when she finally realizes that she hasn't been wearing a bra this whole time, she's like, oh, well, I'm glad he didn't notice. This show, I mean, the obliviousness that does come from her, it feels so genuine because of the way her mind works. She's not an idiot, and she's not even really an airhead. She just has her kind of own priorities, and because she's so madly in love, that kind of lovey-dovey atmosphere is kind of making her blindsided to a lot of the obvious things, like the fact that when he opens a door and sees big jiggle effects go on, I mean, it's not the color contacts that are throwing him for a loop. It's, you know, the fact that you're clearly an attractive person and you're literally flaunting it in my face without realizing it. It's just so great to see how they just literally have a home date in this episode. For her, I mean, just the internal gushing, I'm never going to get sick of. Like, she's literally on cloud 9 in her own mind, as also simultaneously continuing to be embarrassed at those very simple human things like her stomach growling. It's actually not an embarrassing thing. It happens because the stomach's hungry. But when you're a teenager in love and, you know, you want to seem like the perfect prime person that another person would want to be with, and your stomach's grumbling like Satan's hounds, yeah, it's obvious why you're going to get a little embarrassed. And I love those simple moments like reestablishing just like how she apparently can't cook and she just basically heats up frozen bullshit. And the fact that she actually goes and makes him actually a pretty nice dinner, all things considered there. But the fact that she couldn't wrap it up nicely and she thought it was a horrible failure as she was actually doing pretty well. And then he just compliments her so genuine, like, what did you do with the flavors? Oh, you use things I never even thought of. But of course, Gojo, it can't be a rom-com unless both of them have at least a little bit of denseness, which if you're growing up and kind of in love and you're a little confused about your feelings, the denseness of thinking, you know, they probably don't like me the same way I'm feeling about them. It's just the rice that she cooked for because she loves fried rice, not that she loves me. This show just, it perfectly captures the innocence, the awkwardness, and I think the kind of confusing atmosphere of growing up and being in love and just not knowing what to do, especially for someone like Gojo who went from literally staying home all day, painting his dolls, to now going over to a friend's house and in return thinking that, oh man, my work is actually a lot worse these days because I haven't had time to practice. In actuality, the grandpa's proud of him, saying, you actually got better, your lines aren't as thick, you're actually being a lot more careful. And that's probably because you've been working on Marines, so you're not just looking at dolls, you're getting more experience. I love how this show is just so, like, non-judgmental. It's just about people being who they are. And even though you have those certain shots, like when Gojo enters her room, he goes from being so anxious, like, oh man, there's this attractive girl who's basically bouncing all around me. I don't know if I can watch anime with her. And then he opens the door and just sees this weeaboo room and he's like, yeah, that's her room, alright. And it brings him back down to earth on who she is at the end of the day. And then just, they can easily watch that show together as he actually starts crying, which I wasn't expecting, but damn, he got into that show. And I love seeing that type of relationship kind of blossom because I really love having it more on Marine's side in terms of like the embarrassment and the flusterness because she rocks that cute atmosphere and that aura. But I also love how Gojo equally has his moments of flusteredness, so it shows that it is a two-way streak here. And it's not just like she feels this way and he's falling in love with another. No, like he gets embarrassed by things, but he also has very much shown that, like, you know, from his "you look beautiful" comment and everything like that, he's focused in on her. And it's interesting to see other characters kind of like opinions on his craftsmanship, because if you were to look at Marine's cosplay, that's not their first rodeo, right? And have Juju of all characters like look at these intricate details and then just realize that he's saying this is only his second cosplay. Holy shit. As you kick off the episode with some very, very fun kind of like back and forth bickering as you basically kind of sell a kind of dual cosplay when you realize that you can split the cost of a studio. And it's just great to see how they're actually exploring the kind of fundamentals. Like, I love the one shot where they're explaining how the sister and them, they kind of like use filters and they touch up the pictures afterwards. And they show like kind of like the before and after as they're like sliding the filter across the picture. It's just great to get those like little details while just simultaneously making the relationships the star of this show. I mean, My Dress Up Darling has been absolute quality now for 7 episodes. I'm firmly convinced that for the remaining 5 episodes, it's going to remain to be top quality. And it's great to see because this is one of those shows that just has such an attention to detail, and I mentioned it in last week's video as well, but like the way they animate the anime within the anime is just the attention to detail that I wish more studios would give, because when you really look at it, from the fact that it's not in widescreen because it's clearly like a 90s, early 2000 anime, right? And the fact that the way they're like building up that classic kind of magical girl shonen action where, you know, it's a dramatic close-up and, you know, you have the background kind of moving in the distance, but they're not actually animating everything. The very classic animation style, even more so than what we're used to in today's kind of like modern anime standards. It's great to see like how it actually feels like an old school Sailor Moon-esque anime in their world, but different from our own reality. And that's the type of stuff that really separates an anime from just a simple adaptation just trying to promote the manga. Like, this feels like it's supposed to stand on its own 2 legs. And whether you like the manga or you're brand new to the anime, both sides are going to have a damn good time seeing that attention to detail. But thoughts and feelings as per usual on this very, very incredible My Dress Up Darling episode. Favorite moment if you have any. What do you hope to see now that we have 4 characters in the kind of spotlight going into next week's episode? But let me know your feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.